Welcome to day 2 of OER launch week. Yesterday, we focused on the why of OER, affordability, access, and impact. And today we're going to focus on where to find OER, how UTA supports discovery, and how this connects directly to affordability and outcomes. So let's jump right into our affordability spectrum. So this is our affordability spectrum. And at UTA, we don't take an OER or bust approach. We know that there isn't a perfect material for every commercial textbook, and not everyone has the time or capacity to create their own. What matters is informed choice every step toward lower cost, whether it's using library resources, adopting low cost text, or moving into OER, it represents movement toward affordability. The goal is progress, not perfection, and every move makes a real change towards a difference for students. Starting on the left, we have commercial textbooks, and the average cost of a textbook is $116 per course, but we all know that many are much higher than that. Students either purchase new or used copies, and those costs add up quickly. Next on the spectrum, we have inclusive access. Here, costs are bundled with tuition and fees. While it sometimes lowers the sticker price, it doesn't give professors flexibility to adapt or customize the material to better fit for their students' needs and perspectives. And students often lose access at the end of the semester. Next, we have library license content. So this includes ebooks, journal articles, and also course reserves where faculty can place a required textbook in the library so students can check it out for short terms and share. It's a helpful step, but it still doesn't provide the same level of access or adaptability as other options. Low-cost strategies are next, and these do bring the prices down. You can use older editions or discount versions, often between $0 and $25. These do reduce costs, but students still pay, and the materials can't be modified or customized. Next, we have informal or illegal sharing, things like pirated PDFs or unofficial websites. While the cost is technically zero, it's unethical, unreliable, and it's risky. Just because something is freely available online doesn't mean it's ethically or legally available. Different countries have different copyright laws, and materials that appear free in one place could be shared illegally if we consider under the US law, which is what still governs our use of materials. So then we have free but not open content. These are things like YouTube videos or online articles. They don't cost anything, but they don't have an open license, so they can't be remixed or redistributed. And finally, at the far end of the spectrum, we have OER, open educational resources, which are free, openly licensed, and available from day one, and faculty can customize and contextualize them for their students. And that makes them both more affordable and more adaptable, the most adaptable option on the spectrum. So yesterday we talked about the big picture, over 12.4 million in avoided textbook cost or students paying last year. Today, I want to show you how we actually measure that impact. So we define cost avoidance as the money students didn't have to spend on required materials because their classes use low cost or no cost options. And every semester, we manually review syllabi and categorize courses as no cost or low cost or regular. In spring 2025, that review showed more than 1,700 courses as no-cost sections and 100 low-cost sections, saving students about 5.4 million in that single semester. What's important here is not just the numbers, but the process. It shows that even small shifts in course materials multiplied across sections add up to real affordability gains for students. And again, all of this starts with discovery, a faculty member exploring options and making an intentional choice. So discovery is where it all begins. When faculty members take the time to explore and see what's possible, that exploration can lead to adoption or even more. Some faculty choose to take the next step, like I said, more tailoring for their students, tailoring the content. or even creating something brand new that ripples out beyond their own classrooms. And each of these choices, whether they adopt, remix, or create, ultimately translates into affordability impact for students, multiplying savings across the institution. So we talked about how discovery leads to adoption and adoption leads to impact for students, but what does that look like in practice? To make it more concrete, we've built two OER cost avoidance calculators, one for faculty and one for students. The faculty calculator shows the impact of adopting OER in faculty courses. They can enter the number of students, sections, and semesters and instantly see per semester or multi-year cost avoidance projections. And these projections can be used in grant applications, tenure and promotion materials, or even annual performance reviews to demonstrate meaningful impact. The student calculator allows learners to plug in their own schedule and see how much they're saving in a semester across multiple semesters, or even for their entire degree path. It turns OER is good into here's what it means for my wallet this semester and next. So really, it gives students one more tool to financially plan their college journey and understand the real value of OER in their education. And together, these tools bring that pathway to life. Affordability isn't abstract, it's measurable. Whether it's $5,000 from one faculty decision or thousands saved across a student's whole program, those dollars stay in the student's pockets, supporting essentials like rent, groceries, or even making space for another class. So both of these calculators are going to live in our OER subject guide, and they're under our activities for today if you'd like to try them after the session. So we've seen how discovery leads to adoption and how those choices add up. That raises the next question, where do you actually begin the discovery process? This is where OER repositories come in. They are centralized hubs for openly licensed textbooks and course materials, and they make it easier to start broad, explore options, and then narrow down to exactly what you need. Three of the most widely used are Open Textbook Library, OER Commons, and Merlot. Each of these works a little different, but the process is still pretty straightforward. I've got three tips for you that will pretty much work in all repositories. Number one is to start broad and then narrow your search. Number two, use those filters. And number three, look at reviews and preview the material. With those three steps, you can quickly get from thousands of options to resources that actually fit your teaching and learning needs. So let's look at these three tips in detail. So we're going to start with the Open Textbook Workshop, and tip number one here. To begin, I'll tell you a little funny quirk about Open Textbook Workshop to Open Textbook Library. They don't tell you how many results that it's coming up with. It just kind of keeps scrolling. So I kind of start with like skimming through the first results and then I sharpen the words. So on the left, you see my wide start with biology. The first screen or two of scrolls is enough to like map the terrain. And I'm just scanning titles, star ratings, publisher names, licenses, the copyright year, and I'll click on those read more blurbs to kind of look to see if it looks like something that would work for me. Once I see that landscape, I can nudge the search toward my actual need. On the right, I typed in ecology lab, same open textbook website, but just different terms, and it kind of gives us a list that leans more toward hands-on lab-friendly options. So if you want more to look at, you can remove words. You could try synonyms or related words, like I used ecology lab, environmental biology. If I want fewer results, I can add qualifiers like lab, workbook, case studies, or for non-majors. For ideas with more than one word, use quotation marks to keep them together, like ecology lab or child development. And if I hit a wall, I jump back to the main biology one and I look for those phrases that might help me with my search, and I repurpose some of those phrases. That's kind of the rhythm. So you start wide so you don't miss some of the good general ones, and then you add those keywords to kind of bring it down and just play with those keywords. So now that we've used keywords to start that, we have kind of a short list here. Our next tip is to use the filters. So we've got our list. We're going to use the filters now to bring it down, and we're going to use OER Commons as our example here. So on the left is OER Commons with biology and no filters. Great for a first scan, but 8,795 results is a lot. So on the right is the exact same search, but I turned on a few filters. The search results came down to 33, and that is much better. So I started with level, which cuts back some of the noise. I just chose community college or lower division. Then I pick the kind of thing that I actually need, activity or lab, homework, assignment, lesson plan, case study, lecture. And then I set the license for the freedoms that I want. If I'm going to want to adapt or remix, I've got to stay away from anything that says ND or no derivatives. I'm going to look for ones that say CC BY or CC BY SA so that I can freely remix those and redistribute. Then I kind of look for language and format, downloadable documents, and choosing the language can keep it practical for you and your students, make your life easier. On OER Commons, you can sort by the rating or newest if the first few items look a little stale, or the advanced search lets you add some more, like if you need standards and stuff like that. If the list goes back to 0, just start taking some filters off, take the most restrictive one off first and kind of play with those the same way we played with those keywords. So we've done some keywords, we've used filters, and the last one I want to show you is an example from Merlot. Now we're going to check the quality and fit. I love Merlot for their peer review process because Merlot's reviews are written by discipline experts. On the left side is a Merlot material page. I did a search and I chose this material. This is DNA from the beginning. The quality panel is kind of a quick gauge for you. You can see if it has a peer review, user ratings, comments, learning exercises, and if there's any accessibility info. I use Go to Material so I can go check on the links and make sure all the interactive pieces work. When I click on the peer review box, I get my ratings box. And that ratings box gives me a quick signal. I can get that overall score plus separate ratings for each of those sections as you scroll down the page. High stars, take a closer look. Mixed stars might tell you to read the comments and decide if trade-offs are worth looking into. It might be something, if it is licensed CC BY or CC BY SA, it might be something that you can update to make better. So kind of my quick way of looking at this is, does the description match my outcomes at student level? Check the dates, version notes, check the links, check any embedded media, confirm that the license terms fit your plan, whether you're adopting, adapting, or remixing. Remember, if you do want to make any of those changes, to stay away from anything that says ND, which means no derivatives. Then I look for the download options, transcripts or alt text, and mobile friendliness. And then I scan a chapter or an activity to gauge pacing and tone, remembering that depending on the license, I can make changes if needed. If it passes, I save the link and the license on my list. If not, close the tab and move on. Merlot also does a really cool thing. They have some editor's choice badges and accessibility information as well. So make sure you're looking for those two things on there. So now that we've seen where and how to search, I understand that this can still feel like a lot. So we have a simple solution and we call it OER matchmaking. So here at UTA, we know searching takes time and that not everyone wants to sift through repositories alone. So we offer OER matchmaking where faculty and students can submit a request. Our OER team will curate some possible options and search results where you can start, and then we share them with you so that you have a clear starting point. It saves time, builds confidence, and often sparks adoptions. All we need from you is your course context and goals, material preferences and deal breakers, and the timeline that you would like to start. You need to begin this search. And then we're happy to help. That's all I have for you today. From here, please check out today's engagement activities. Both of the calculators are there for you to test out. Try exploring one of the repositories we talked about today: Open Textbook Library, OER Commons, or Merlot. Or if you'd like a clear starting point for your OER search, submit an OER matchmaking request so we can help. And of course, reach out if you have any questions or need any help. Have a great day, and I hope that we see you again tomorrow for community and stories.